Okay. Am I starting?
If you'd like to.
How was Christmas?
Christmas went well.
Good.
A lot of food. We talked about this is our third time recording this, by the way.
Why?
Well, the first one, I don't know what happened. The recording just stopped about 20 minutes in, so that was a pain in the ass. And then, second time, Uncle Andy's phone ran out of storage. Oh fuck! So that wasn't the best thing ever.
Nope.
But a lot of food. A lot of food. Not the best. Actually, a lot better than most years. In terms of self-control, I'd say.
Yeah. It was good that, for me, it was good too. We had, usually there's just no point in trying, it seems. But this year was good. I got to the gym every single day, did some good exercise every single day. But it was good. I don't think I gained, well, I actually weighed myself for the first time in a few weeks, and I'm good.
That's good.
Yeah, really good. So I felt good, but every other year has been hard.
It's the unknown, all the things that come up.
Yeah.
Like, so for me, we got the big Italian thing. I think I told you this before.
Yeah.
We got, so it'd be Christmas Eve, so the 23rd.
Yep.
We do a family thing. 24th, family thing. 25th, family thing. 26th. Then maybe one other day until New Year's, and then New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. That's a lot.
It's basically when the kids get out of school, we have our tournaments and stuff. That's the other thing. We didn't have the tournament this year because of COVID.
Right.
Our home tournament, like our 3-on-3 tournament, which we're at the rink all day, and I'm not really doing a whole lot of moving around. And we have snacks and stuff around, and that's what gets me.
Oh, yeah.
The snacks. So it starts on the 22nd or the 23rd, and then you got to go through Christmas, and then you got to go through New Year's. And it's like almost 2 weeks of just not in your habits, and it's brutal.
Yeah, it's funny how fast things can go if your routine breaks down.
Yeah, that's it.
And I don't know exactly what that is, why that happens, but just in your brain, it's so much easier to just not care and do things that you wouldn't normally do just because you're not in the same flow that you're normally in. You know what I mean? Even if you have like a work schedule or something and you're out of it, it's just not good. Yeah,
that's why I was happy I got this Whoop that I know you want one really badly.
I do.
Dalton Prout showed me this a couple months ago, and it's Whoop, WHOOP. It's not an advertisement. It's just, well, I guess maybe it is because I think very highly of this thing because it's one thing that keeps me on track. So part of having good habits, getting up at a certain time, and being on a schedule, keeps you going in the right direction. But so what this is I was looking at it, getting a heart monitor in the summertime for my running and stuff like that, sprinting hills, and just see how high my heart rate gets in the. I used to have one. I used to have a Fitbit, and I used to have all the different tools. But I really like this because it shows you your sleep. So, and it's incredible how much your sleep affects your workouts. Like, it's good to see it live because you think you're rested, and it shows you exactly how you slept, your heart rates and stuff. So it's really good feedback, and then it'll show you based on your rest and your recovery what your strain should be for the day. So if you go over your strain, then you're actually taxing your system even more. So you try to keep it at an optimal level. So it's really good feedback. So you might think like, okay, I've got it today, but maybe you don't. You can still push it and stuff, but but it'll just keep telling you your measurements.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. So it's one thing that keeps me dialed in. So what I've done over the years, I'm talking about this because you talked about staying on track or habits and stuff, right? So what I've done is I've always been, with the exception of a couple mid-20s, I've always been in very good shape. Let myself go for about 2 years. I didn't like it. My pants made me look fat those years. But over the
that's a good marker.
Oh, yeah, it's always the best. It's the pants. Like, I couldn't find a pair of pants.
Go down to tie your shoes.
Yeah,
it's like getting out of breath trying to tie your shoes.
Yeah, it's just brutal. Yeah, like they always got in the way of my movement and stuff. Yeah. But so, anyways, what happened was as I got older, I've had gyms. So I've had a gym, and I would get little tools to keep me on track. So in the last little bit, I've had my gym. So that's an everyday thing, which is everyone, like my wife even says, well, you're lucky because you have a gym. I go, yeah, try going to work with a gym when you have work. So you still have to schedule the time. So I have the gym. I had a Fitbit, had those kind of different things before. And the Fitbit was okay. It gave you a little bit of measurement. It wasn't accurate at all. But it was okay, but it gave you something to look at every day. Right. So it was kind of a reminder. So even though it might show you've done 10,000 steps when you've, well, maybe I'm doing a stick handling clinic. I got to do 30,000 steps. It's not true. But at the end of the day, it showed you're active. So it was like, okay, I was active. So it was a marker that I liked to just for myself to say, okay, you're busy. So I might find it kind of weird, but I've also had with my gym, I've always had membership somewhere else up until like only a couple of years ago. And the reason I had that is because I always wanted a place like on a Sunday, I want a convenience of not having to drive into work. Or use a different type of machine on a day that I'm home or whatever. I just wanted the convenience to go and get another workout in if I needed to.
I still do that too. I keep mine at Fit for Less there for that exact reason. Just 5 minutes away.
Convenient sometimes. So I've always had that, and then I've had, like I said, I had the Fitbit, and then I bought the Echelon bike, which is like parallel to a Peloton bike. So again, you get all kinds of measurements and stuff, and you walk by it every day. So it's another thing I really look forward to. If I'm bored, I might go down. In addition to things, when I'm bored, I might go down there and just do a 20-minute speed ride or a hills ride, or sometimes just to flush out the legs from doing things. And then when I got this, it just keeps, like, there's always these reminders of staying fit. What it does also is keeps me more active than I maybe have to be, but that's what I like. So it's the one thing I want is to be very, very fit for a long period of time.
Yeah, it's amazing. If you just have that, like, just something that keeps you accountable. It could be anything too. That's what's awesome. It could be another person. It could be the strap. It could be you have a bike that you always walk by every day. Yeah. Whatever it is, just like having those little things in your environment makes it way more accessible to do things that you should be doing firstly, and then after that, it's like you can't get away from it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing, because it's amazing what. Everyone knows this. Like, you go to the gym with a buddy, how much easier it is to try hard.
Yep.
Because there's somebody there, right?
Yep.
So when you implement these little tools that keep you accountable, it makes it way easier to keep the habits going, you know?
Yeah. We had a wicked workout this morning. Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah. You know what?
Dalton came in fired up. You were fired up. I was fired up. Music was great.
I was just going to say, so for anyone who doesn't, so Apple Music and Spotify are like the two big ones right now. But for people who haven't done it, because I didn't know about this, I knew it existed, but I didn't have it, was SoundCloud. Yeah. And you go on there and you can just find some killer mixes of like, what's the one we're doing right now? Big Booty Mix?
Yeah, but it was like almost a Swearwood game day.
Yeah, game day mix.
It's awesome.
There's
Charlie loved it working out the other night.
They're killer. So if you don't have SoundCloud, there's an app for you can download for free, and it's just another music platform, but it's killer, man. Gets you so amped up because it's just a continuous, 40-minute, hour-long stream. Just you don't have to change the songs. It's like a good, keep you bouncing. It's nice.
Good change of pace.
Oh yeah,
loud,
big time.
It was good.
Seriously,
that was good. It's good. Nice to, man. That gym, it has energy. Yeah.
Oh, it's the best, man.
Jeez, it's great.
It's just a great place to be, and that, like, for people that don't have that, man, like,
I feel bad.
But the thing too is, like, they don't even know what they're missing. You know, it's like our gym. Yeah, it's your gym. It's
our gym.
Our gym. It's you walk in, and it's just like nothing matches, and there's a little bit of grime. There's like things are chipped up. Yeah, it's dirty. There's chalk. And it's like. You just come in and you just feel hardcore. Oh, yeah. And then the only people that work out in that gym are people that work hard. Yeah. So you're not going to see, someone who's not hitting their intensity for the day coming into this gym.
It's not conducive necessarily for them.
No.
I'm having a thought. It's off topic of anything we're going to talk about today, though. Yeah. But it's always good because I just wonder how I always encourage people to work out somehow, some way. Because what I like to do in the summertime, it's literally my favorite thing. Two favorite things is running hills and running the track. And had a guy about my age that used to be in track, and he said, "Yeah, I'll do some sprints with you." And I said, "Don't do that." He blew his Achilles heel that day. Yeah, his Achilles tendon. But anyways, I think it's like. So my wife got into. I showed her a workout. She loves this. So we'll go. It's more of a. And Dalton got me into this one. Instead of just sprinting hills, what we do is we'll do 20 minutes with a 20, 40, whatever weight vest on. And we'll just go up and down the hill. But on the top and on the bottom, you do some sort of squat, lunge, or anything like that. So you're just burning out the legs. So after 20 minutes, you peel off the vest. Then you sprint up and walk down. And it's great. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't say anybody do that. But what my wife does now is she wears a vest and she does that 20 minutes. Then she takes it off and she's getting up to sprinting it like not 20 minutes like me, but 10. And she just goes, man, it's so refreshing.
Yeah.
So it's funny that my point of that is that it's amazing how you know what it's going to give you at the end of the day. It's like you're not going to lose 10 pounds a day, but what it gives you is like just you feel good about yourself, and it refreshes you and re-energizes you. You're out in the sun, you're out in the fresh air, and I just there's a million ways to do it. So you don't need to have our gym and that intensity all the time, but there's ways just take care of yourself, man. It's so good.
Yeah. The
hockey players, easy thing to do.
The thing that's important that people don't understand. I talk to my mom about this a lot because she's very interested in this type of stuff. She's not necessarily like the most hardcore gym freak. My mom's like,
she moves though.
Yeah, she's great. She's way ahead of. She's 56. My mom, and looks like she's not a day over 35.
I'd date her.
Yeah, like she's good.
Oh yeah, she's a beautiful lady.
Good shape, like takes care of herself. But
she's gorgeous.
We talk about it, and it's like you don't have to kill yourself or go so hard that you throw up, or like you don't have to do any of that. And people have this like misconception that when they start to get into working out, that it has to be really hard and they have to hate their life, and that's just the wrong strategy. Like you need to start doing something that you'll actually do, and if that means you'll only go for a walk for 10 minutes, just do that. Right. But it's weird because people have this almost like an ego thing where they're too good to just do a walk, but they won't commit to doing anything more than that. Right. So it's like they think, what's a walk gonna do? Why am I just gonna go for a walk? It's like, well, because it's the first step.
It's the first step, and it's 10 or 20 minutes that you're not sitting on the couch having a beer and a bag of chips.
Yeah, right. And that's so it's like just do something you can. If you have an exercise bike in your house, just putt while you watch TV. Yeah. Like just do something to start going. Right. Yeah. And the way that we talk and people that come in and see us and the stuff we post online, it's like it's very hardcore, like intense fitness type pictures, like motivation type talk, but it doesn't need to be that, right? It just needs to be something, right? Yep. And then you can slowly build, and you don't need to ever build to be the most hardcore person. Like there's no reason for someone who's just like the average guy that has their 9-to-5 job, there's no reason for them to do 400-pound deadlifts.
There's zero reason.
Yeah, like you don't have
unless
to unless
the desire's there.
Yeah, unless they want to, or there's a reason, like they're doing a competition or something. But if like it doesn't have to be that hard. No, you know what I mean. No, you don't have to do something.
Well, that's what I like about this. The Whoop. That's what I like about it is because there was. It's mostly heart rate. It's not always. It doesn't measure the damage you do to your body on squatting and stuff. Just mostly heart rate, but that's okay. But what you would think. You would think you're doing a high intensity workout, like the ones that I would have thought they did less damage than I thought based on my heart rate. And I was like, oh, wow. So I thought I was in some, not all the times, in some of the exercises, I'm like, oh, I thought I exerted more than that. And then there's other ones where like going for a simple walk on this thing, you'd be surprised that it's the strain that it puts on your body, which is, it's a good amount. So it works, man. Like just moving a little bit. Yeah.
And even if it's not the most consistent thing, it'll be consistently inconsistent with how you live your life. So even like I talk to people with this when they're like trying to track calories and stuff sometimes, right? Like you track calories, it's so hard to track.
Don't do it.
Yeah, like it's so hard to do it. So you just get like certain pieces in place where you know how much certain things are, and you have a good ballpark. And whether or not it's 100% accurate, it doesn't really matter. Like if you think you're eating 3,000 calories a day or something based on the way you tracked it, well, that's a consistent marker for you now, whether it's 3,000 or 3,200 or whatever. Yeah. And you have something to go off of now, right? Yeah. And that's why it's nice. You get a piece of feedback. Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't need to be something that's that tough. If you're like one of these kids playing we just had the World Juniors, whatever, if you're one of these kids playing there, they are working up that to those super intense levels, and that is maybe a different story, but you don't have to do that.
Well, just a side note again, I think we're on the side now. I'm loving Charlie got for whatever, well, just our conversations, but he's turned up, and with Dalton's help, see, I'm dad, and I give the kid credit because he listens to me for a lot of things, but there's sometimes just like, hey, Dad, when Dalton or you say something to him or Zach or something, then he gets a little bit more, okay, this is real. But it's funny the corner he's turned through the last couple months. He's So now Dalton challenged him to get up every morning at 7:30, and get on the bike just to create a habit of doing something hard. So Dalton calls him every morning, or Charlie will call Dalton on the bike. It's the best thing I've ever seen in my life, because he just turned 15. To create that habit of I need to do something and do something hard and create habits. And what's going to happen shortly is he'll well, not never, but it's going to be hard for him to break the habit of getting up and getting moving.
Yeah, I think like
his workouts have been designing his own workouts now, and like we oversee them, but it's like, oh boy.
Well, the thing that's awesome about that is it's like once you learn certain things, you can't unlearn things. Right? Like you can start to forget to apply them, but on some level you'll always know the thing you know, right? So once you've had a really good habit and you know how much better it feels to do that, or how much better you feel about yourself because you're doing that, it's really hard to not get back to that at some point, or not know better, right? And people let themselves go and all that, and that's true. But if you know the difference and you've had like a good habit structure, you can't unknow what that's like, right? And so on some level in your brain, you know that you're not doing things that you should be doing. And that's a good thing, because there's just another one of those checks, right? That can keep you doing that.
Yeah, and so Dalton's an accountability voice to him.
Yeah,
Dalton loves it.
Oh yeah,
he loves it, and because it's amazing. You know, you hear Dalton talk. He talks like he was not a very good hockey player. Well, in the OHL, he went 21st overall, and probably if they were doing the draft, maybe he would have went earlier. Who knows? He was a great player, but he's talking on an NHL scale how hard he had to work, and I just love that message that he gets across to Charlie. It's like, you know, Charlie and the kids. It's like they you know, where do I get drafted? And it's all good. I talked to Charlie about that the other day. I said you know, he's got a certain goal. You know what it is. If it happens, great. And I told him just the other day. I said, now if it happens, guess what? Nothing changes. You still have to make the team. You still have to earn your ice time. You still have to do the things right on your ice time. You have to get better every day. So it's just that challenge over and over and over again. And Dalton's very, very good at making him understand that. So I'm so thankful for that guy.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing too, and I think Dalton probably thinks the same thing I think. It's you see a guy, especially when they're like a young kid and you can see that they are actually doing something. They're not just talking, right? And that's the thing. It's like, it's so true. The kid that you'll care as much as the kid you're training cares.
100%.
Right? And that's just the truth. If a kid comes in and he's just like going through the motions, not really active, not asking good questions, not really caring, cheating, all those things.
More excuses than a pregnant nun.
Yeah. Well, and you can tell, like, away from the rink, they're not doing the things they're supposed to be doing. Like, they're in the gym for an hour a day and seeing no progress after 2 months, 3 months. It's like, when you're a young kid, like 3 months of work, you'll see some progress,
guaranteed,
right? If you're doing the right things, you know.
Guaranteed.
And so as a trainer, you see these kids that come in and they have a little bit of desire, and you can see that they're trying, and you just want to feed into that, right?
Yep.
That's why I think you see with Dalton, the way him and Charlie interact. Like, Dalton can see that Charlie wants it, and he's giving him as much as he can give him, right? Because you know, you talk about these junior guys and going through the draft and all this stuff, and it's not, even if you go high, it's not going to be all sunshines and you know, you're the best time ever. It's most people don't have a great experience going through junior because it wasn't what they expected, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I think we're going to talk a lot about. I think we'll stick on this for a while. Is I think when players play hockey, and parents, you know, the feedback they give them too is we overestimate how great we are and how easy it's going to be, and we underestimate the challenge at hand. We underestimate how good the league is. Underestimate the unknowns. That's the other thing. You're going to underestimate the unknowns that are out there, and those are the things that'll knock you on your ass. Mm-hmm. You know, for things like, I'm just going to say a couple, like off the top of my head. Things like just the size. When you go to a junior level like the OHL or college, you go to college, you're literally playing against guys 4 or 5. In college, maybe 6, I'm not sure, but 4 or 5 years older than you. And that's a huge, huge, huge difference. So just right then and there, it's speed, it's power, it's strength, and it's experience that you don't have as a hockey player. The next thing is the dressing room, off ice. And that's what got me. I was good enough skill-wise my first year as a 16-year-old. I mean, I say that not to say that I was the best ever at 16 years old, but I'm saying that for the fact that I could play at 16 years old. It didn't overwhelm me, the speed and stuff like that. But it was the dressing room and the off ice that got me, that I was like, okay, what's going on here? It was billets. It was I'm just trying to think. There's a whole bunch of things. There's hazing. Hazing was a thing that it was like, oh no, we got to do this, because you hear stories and they're mostly true, which is brutal.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world. Well, for some guys it was. There's the coach. You come from minor hockey, where mostly your coaches are friendly, and they're mostly, from what I see, they're not that gruff, don't care, because they are still a little bit accountable to parents. They're not professional, so they're more nicer. A lot of people are doing it for fun and stuff. But you get to a junior college pro, that's their job, that's their livelihood, and you'd be going to a coach that doesn't actually speak to you, doesn't give you feedback, doesn't feel like helping you, because it's not in his best interest. No, it's in his best interest. He doesn't think so. But all he cares about is winning. If you're not doing the job, then you figure it out. There's not necessarily, when you go to that level, that someone's there to help you. So that's something. I dealt with that.
Oh yeah.
There's like the coaches or the organization, right? You think you're going to a professional organization when you go to the OHL or college, and some of them are run really poorly. So how are you going to do it? Like, how do you play hockey? Do you? This is the issue, right? Do you quit? Do you blame? Do you throw excuses like the organization is not very good? Like, so this is why it's very important to understand that you have to overestimate how hard it's going to be. Like, even getting drafted or getting a college, overestimate how hard it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because if you overestimate it, like, Eric Wellwood uses an example. His dad said, he goes, like, if making the NHL was picking up a 600-pound rock, and you pick it up and you push it over your head, hold it up over your head, that's what it takes to make the NHL. A lot of people before would say, okay, 600-pound, there's the excuses start. Well, that's too much. Why does it have to be 600? Why couldn't it be 400? Well, because it's 600. Well, I almost did it. Okay, so that means you didn't do it. So you're not getting there. Overestimate. So you have to train to maybe lift 700. Well, can you do it? Yeah, it's going to take time, and there's a process, right? But people underestimate what that task is. Yeah. And that's what in hockey most people do. And when parents are going through the system with their kids, the worst thing they could do is make excuses and tell them how great they are. I'm not saying don't tell them they had a great game or you're proud of them and stuff, but the work ethic and the attention to detail is what's the difference maker. If you can't figure out those details, you can't figure out the how to face the adversity in all different aspects, because it's going to come at you, and it's just going to come. And there's zero emotions in it. You have to figure it out if you want to play. Yeah,
well, when you're talking about, you're lifting a 600-pound rock, the things that contribute to that 600 pounds, it's not just hockey, right?
Exactly.
And that's what's important about, I remember when I was a kid, I would put my rollerblades on, and I lived on a dead end, so we had the circle there, right? So I put my net in front of the house, put my rollerblades on, and I used to skate around with the orange ball, and I would do the play-by-play in my
Everybody
head
did, yeah.
Of
awesome.
Being on whatever team, doing whatever, winning whatever game and all that. And I think a lot of kids they're going into the draft, they're thinking of it like that. Like, that's the only part they thought about, right? Like, they think about, oh, like, I'm going to play on the London Knights and we're going to win the big game and I'm going to score the big goal and it's going to be awesome and there's going to be all these people and that could happen, and that's a good
Absolutely.
thing. That's a good thing to play with in your head, because it's motivating.
Yep.
But that is not even close to all of the things that you need to be prepared to deal with when you go there. So a couple of things you mentioned, like the big one that was for me was the billeting.
Yeah.
Like, you moved the first time I moved away, and I was 18. I wasn't even 16 when I moved the first time. So I was gone at 18 by myself, lived with a family that didn't. I had to do most of the stuff myself. Like, I did a lot of the cooking, cleaning, whatever. And these are all things skills I didn't have, things I didn't know what to do. Didn't know anyone that lived there. And those are things that have nothing to do with hockey, but they'll affect hockey big time.
It'll affect hockey big time.
Yeah. So these are the things, like, if you're in a tough living situation, like, how are you going to deal with that mentally? If you're feeling lonely, like, how are you going to deal with that mentally? If you've never been lonely, if you've always had mom in your back pocket or whatever.
Dude, I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
Because Charlie legitimately there's a really high percentage chance that in 7 months, 8 months, he's not living with me anymore. And I didn't have a child, so I can give him away.
Yeah.
And but that's why I've prepared him so much in different ways, not just for hockey, but for life. Because that's the thing is, he comes from a house where his mom and dad love him to death. We spend time speaking together, laughing, and like life is always about what do you think, and making him think. And he's very comfortable in our house. It's the funniest house in the world. It's just a great place to be. But he could go to a house totally opposite. He could have he move in a house of a super fan that wants to talk to him all day and tell him how hockey works, or he wants to blow his head off because he doesn't want to hear it anymore. He could go to a place like we've had, like when I moved to Hamilton, the first house I came in, and the first house I came to, they were like really nice people, Leon and Linda, I can't remember. I was only there for 3 days. So when I walked in the house, so my house when I grew up was like a small, tiny, no yard, not the nicest neighborhood, and my parents split up, and my mom did the best that she could, and so I didn't come from anything lavish whatsoever. So we went to this house, and it was like a really nice house, like a really nice, like not a mansion or anything, but like a really nice house, something that I would be really happy to live in today. So I go to the door, I'm like, wow, this is where I'm going to get to live. I thought I hit the jackpot, right? And they're just super nice people. But as I walked in, there was a cat that rubs against my leg, and I'm like, oh boy, if I'm allergic to one thing, it's cats and dust, but cats, like it takes me. I was at my brother-in-law's the other day, and within 5 minutes I started, eyes are almost shut, hardly can breathe. So there's a cat in the house. So this is an issue. This is a legit issue of playing hockey. But not only that, it's in my head. And then, so I go downstairs to my room, and then I had to basically change. I had a guy picking me up, and we went to the rink. So before I was leaving, good thing I didn't say I was hungry. I came out of the oven I'd never seen it before. Never seen it. It's called a tuna casserole. Didn't know what that was. But all I know is I thought someone puked in a casserole dish and said, "Here, eat this." I'm like, what the hell is that? And it's probably, I just didn't know it. It's a food I've never seen. Yeah. So I was like, I'm good. I ate before I got here. I'm not hungry at all. Like I lied. I needed to eat. But I was like, wow. I'm not saying that for any other reason than that is an issue. So, okay, so there's a cat, and I don't know if I can eat their food. Wonderful people. So then the kicker was after we were gone for 2 days on a road trip, came back. So it was really my second night at the house. And it was a Sunday morning. It was about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. I hear on my door. And I'm like, wow, like we got in at 3 or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, hello? and the lady goes, "Oh, Andy, time to get up. We have church." And I'm like, well, that's not something I do either. So I was like, "Oh no, I don't know." No, you have to. So I got out of it, but it wasn't a good thing because the other guy that was living there went, and it was part of his life. So I went to the coach and I just said, "Okay, coach." Like he's like, "Oh no, cool." And he was a hard ass, but he was like, "No, that's cool." Moved me to the next house, and it was like home, a little better. Yeah. Nice, not a huge house, but a nice young family starter home. 29-year-old guy, still talk to him. Love these people. They were the best. She actually overcooked for me, but everything she made was just so delicious. The first time I had this, never seen this in my life, it was roast beef dinner. It was probably my first week there. On a Sunday after game and stuff. So I'm at home and I walk in the house and there's a beautiful roast beef dinner and I thought, what the heck is this? It was called Yorkshire pudding. Never seen it before in my life. It was like a bread. I'm like, wow, this is unreal. And then she made these brownies. They're called turtle brownies and stuff. Like, oh, I hit the jackpot here. And they gave me the keys to Mustang, red Mustang. I'm like, what is going on here? It was unbelievable. Yeah. But again, it's different than my lifestyle. So I was overly appreciative of it, and so thankful. And they had a little 2-year-old David. He was I'd be in the morning and he'd come running in my room and jump on my bed and hammer me with his diaper. It was great. But anyways, the thing is, it's a challenge. You're not in your own bed, and that's what I'm thinking about with my son if and when he moves away. Wow, that's one challenge. One. And then here's the other thing you're not even thinking about with that. You move away from home. Are you a family that can afford to get your kid around? So some kids, I remember some guys on the team, they're chicken farmers and people with tons of money. And the kid would come into town and they'd have a nice car. Other kids don't have that. And if you're not living in the right spot around the right people, there's another challenge, just getting to the rink, just getting to school and stuff like that. So it's not these are issues.
Yeah.
So how do you overcome it? And the easy thing to do is like the things that are in your control but not in your control, for example, like a ride. This is where it can really eat away at your hockey career. So, for example, so I used to drive in with Mario Chitteroni. He was a smaller guy. He had a Volkswagen W and used to jam guys in there. And I counted on him for rides. But when he wanted to leave the rink at night, he was a great hockey player. Like, he was about 5'7" and would fight anyone and was good. So, and he was a few years older than me. Great guy. Anyways, when he wanted to leave, though, for the rink, like, as a young guy, I wanted to get that extra ice because I was 16 and, there's extra ice. Like, you're still so horny for hockey. There was extra ice and it's like, well, and he's like, okay, I want to go. It's like, okay, that's my ride. So what do I do? Do I take the ride? So I was dumb. I caved in and I took the ride. If I really, really, really buckled down and ate shit for a while, I would have taken a bus. I would have, because they gave us bus tickets. But taking the bus was harder. It took more time. You get home later. It's not cool. So I most of the times took the ride with Mario, with Tiger is his name. Mm-hmm. And so was that mentally tough? Not really. That was my own demise, maybe.
Yeah.
But it was one thing. But see how the issues, they just keep piling on.
Well, but this is the thing. These are the things you're not thinking of when you're 15 and you just care about hockey and just getting drafted, because when you're living at home, all you worry about is just going to the rink and playing.
Yes.
Because mom takes care of your food and your laundry, and she drives you everywhere.
Yep.
And dad talks to you about hockey 95% of the time, and that's all you care about, and there's nothing else. So what happens when you don't have mom and dad to talk to anymore, and you don't have mom to cook, and you don't have your own bed? Yep. And like, I remember you talking about the car thing, and it reminded me when I was away, and my billets are great too. I'm not saying a bad thing about my billets because they were awesome. Still talk to them.
It's not your house though.
No, it's just not my house. And I still talk to them, still see them. Lived with a single mom with 2 kids. They were great. And I remember one time they went away for some tournament. The kid played baseball and hockey. I forget what he was away on, but I didn't have a car. I was gone, that was my first time moving away. I didn't have a car. I was 18. So I was at the house, and 36 hours went by, and I didn't see another human for 36 hours. Wow. Right? And it's like, I remember sitting in my room. Did you have
a cell phone in those days? Like, because you're younger than me? Okay.
Yeah, I still had a cell phone. Okay. So, like, I was entertained and whatever. I wasn't just sitting on my bed staring at the wall. But I remember I was actually in my room. I was sitting there. I had a pretty big space in my room. Might have been the size of the little studio here. And I remember realizing it. Like, I distinctly remember, like, I haven't seen a person in 36. I haven't talked. Like, I haven't used my voice. Yeah. In like 36 hours. Yeah. Right? And that's a weird feeling. And if you're not prepared, and for me, like, my parents prepared me, like, probably as best you can to be resilient and deal with stress and things that are going to be stressors on you. And that was tough, man. Like, you're 18 and alone, alone. There's nobody. And I just moved there, and there was nobody around that I knew. Yeah. I wasn't close enough with anyone on the team yet where I was like hanging out with them. I had just moved there because I just got traded. And it was like, holy crap, like, I'm literally by myself. Nothing to do with hockey. Yeah. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard. The other thing is just little things like you're hungry. You're sitting there at home. You just go to the fridge. That's it. Yeah. When you're at someone else's house, that takes a while to get that comfortable to do that. So, speaking of that, we had a couple of times people stay with us. Like, so one was a kid that I trained for a long time. He played for the Spits, and they asked if the player asked, really good hockey player, asked if he could stay at our house and it would be good for me. And I, because I loved him, as a human being, I said, yeah, stay with us. I hated it. As a call me a billet, I guess, because he, the things that you say to your kids, you don't necessarily say the exact same things to the billet. Right. So he would, take a shower before school at the rink and then at night. And it's like, okay, how many showers do you need a day? You know what I mean? Like, it's cost us money, and go to the fridge anytime and he asked for specific stuff. And it was like, oh, we eat healthy and stuff but it's a different lifestyle, right? Yeah. So it's different from both ends.
Yeah. So when you find yourself in that position, you need to know that going in and be prepared. Yeah. Well, and it's not even necessary that you can be prepared, but you need to be expecting it to some degree. Problems. Yeah. So that you know, oh yeah, like I remember hearing that this is something that I would have to deal with. Like, I need to figure out how to deal with this, rather than get blindsided by the reality of the lifestyle now that you're there, right? Rather than just thinking, you're excited to go about getting drafted and trying out for a team or going to play in a junior team, and it could even be worse. Like if the hockey situation isn't great, let's say
makes it worse.
Yeah, like let's say you got drafted to Sudbury and they drop you to the local junior team there because they don't have enough room on the roster, but they want you close by. Yeah. It's like, okay, now you're not even playing in the OHL and you live away. Brutal. Right? Like those are things that can happen, right?
100%.
These are stories that you don't hear about, but every kid that wasn't the 1%er that just had a smooth ride, everyone has a story like that.
Oh, 100%.
And you don't hear about that.
No. So the thing is, like that's what we're saying is be aware of the things that'll get you, because it's the little things, right? So just the thing that I use with practice. Getting home early, getting home late. If I was mentally stronger, if I had maybe Dalton Proud or myself or you or someone guiding you and say, well, okay, so let's solve the problem. Okay, what is the issue? Well, I'd like to stay later, and but my ride leaves. Okay, is there another way to get home? Yeah, but the bus sucks. Okay, let's put this in perspective again. If you really want to be a hockey player, sometimes you have to do things that other people aren't willing to do. So to stay 15, 20 minutes on the ice, bus stations there, you might have to wait another 15 minutes. You've added maybe an hour to your day. Is it the end of the world to get what you really want, to make yourself better, to make $1 million a year? Or is it better to go home exactly at 5 o'clock and be home at 5:15 so your life is perfect? And in hindsight, I wish I had the brain I had now to get through issues. I'd solve problems like crazy, because you know what? Problems aren't problems. It's a boulder. It's reps to get that boulder up. There's one more thing, because the problems just keep accumulating as you get older. Mm-hmm. And then you realize like nothing's really a problem. And we talked, I'm going to say this after, is that the key to achieving this hockey thing, the key to it is understanding. Don't get lost in the dream. Like, don't get lost not having the dream. So what happens a lot of the times is the problems come and they look so huge, and we stare at the problem, we look at the problem, we try to kick it. We don't realize that we can go around it, we go through it, we could kick it over. There's a way to get through it. And how you do that is you start focusing on the actual dream, what your vision is, your purpose. So if most people that play in the OHL, they're going there to become a professional hockey player, they're trying to hone their craft. So when you look at that dream, all of a sudden taking a bus and adding 15 minutes to your day or half an hour to your day is not the end of the world. Yep. It's just something. In fact, what a story that is. If you're the guy that they talk in the NHL, is like, yeah, he would stay. Like, think about that story. You stand out, man. You stay every day after practice to work on your shot. Like, think you're Steve Stamkos. You work on that left side and you do those one-timers for 15 minutes, so that when you get that 2 opportunities a game, they're both barred down. Why? Because I decided to stay instead of taking my ride. I stayed for 15 minutes. I worked on my shot, 50 or 100 shots every day to become a superstar. Wow. How'd you get home? Took a bus. That's tough. That's cool. Yeah. And Dalton was saying this to Charlie the other day. He goes, and you were there watching the World Junior game, and he was saying, Charlie, the things that everybody thinks is not cool now is like 10 years from now is the coolest things ever. That you took the discipline you had the discipline to do the little things and not to get into the shit storm of what everybody else is doing. Well,
and that the thing that's nice for Charlie is he gets to see that it's actually cool, because he's around a guy like you, like Dalton, like me, that are in the gym doing these things every day, living the lifestyle that we're talking about. And he's like, man, I would love to be like that, and I would love to do that, and these are things that I want, and whatever. Yeah. And a lot of kids don't necessarily have that, right? So it's nice that this is a place they can come to get this kind of information, because it's tough. Like when you're the young kid coming onto the team and you're getting a ride home from the 20-year-old, it's not an easy thing to say, nah, dude, I'm going to stay, because first of all, he's going to be annoyed that you're staying and trying to work and better yourself. That's going to be annoying to him.
What comes next is, like, you're working hard. Like, they drag you down.
Yeah, so you're going to be getting chirped. They're going to throw the book at you, whatever. And it's hard to bounce back from that. Like, so maybe now getting into more like the team dynamic type stuff, like you have to deal with 19 to 23 other alphas in the room.
Yep. Most guys are alphas or want to be alphas.
Yeah, right? And for like good or bad, it's rare that you'll have veteran guys on your team that are just really good quality guys. You might have one, you might have two,
Yeah.
but majority of the guys are going to be how overagers are. They're done. They're wrapping up their hockey career. Don't really have the care so much attitude anymore. They didn't get drafted to the NHL. So their attitude has changed, and that's something that you're going to have to deal with every day in the dressing room, right?
Yep.
And it's not an easy position to be in when you're 16 years old, 17 years old.
You're just trying to fit in when you're the young guy. That's all you're trying to do is you're trying to fit in, because what's going to happen unless you're like you said, that top guy that doesn't matter. He's just that good, even at 16. And there's only a few of them. You're not getting the ice that you're used to. So that's number one. That's the first thing you want is to play more, right? So other than that, you want to fit in. How are you going to fit in? There's when guys are older, it's a different world.
Yeah.
They don't talk and think about the same thing ever. And that's the part that's really hard. You're just trying to fit in. So you got all these things coming around you, right? And you're just trying to fit in the room. So when I was 16 years old, I remember my grandmother came into the rink, or into my dressing room.
I haven't heard this one.
No, I never told you. So training camp, last day of training camp. Like, I'm 16, a little boy. So excited to play. It was a green and white game. So there was about probably 2,000 people that came. It's the last day of camp, and it's a bloodbath those first 3 days. So it's like, this is the team's almost made. Like, not almost made, but they're getting down to the cuts. And so I'm getting dressed, and the boys are, they listen. I thought guys talked about when I was a 16-year-old boy. I'm watching my son right now. That's what he thinks, right? We talk about power plays, and we talk about hockey and the NHL, and everything's about hockey. But there's a certain point in your life where there's this thing called girls, and sometimes alcohol and different things like that the guys are more focused on than hockey. And I was sat in the room, and I went, oh. One guy asked me in front of the boys. I love it. So right in front of the guys, loud guy, big, 6'4", Max was his name. Actually, Mitty, if you're listening to this, Max Middendorf. My nickname was Packer. Well, actually, my first nickname was Muntz. I told you this the other day because, what is that? How did you get that nickname? So it was, I had a longer hair, like feathered 1980, whatever. I said, I got to clean this up for camp. So I went to get a haircut. There's a big Serbian guy, hands like frozen turkeys. I'm sitting there, and he goes, okay with his accent. And he takes the shears and goes across my head, ear to ear. So I go, that's not what I wanted. So anyways, he gave me this haircut, and I looked like Eddie Munster from the Munsters. So that was my first one. They called me Muntz, and then Packer was Pac-Man. That was my nickname. So anyways, getting dressed for a game or practice, I forget which one it was, and Mitty, just in the front of the room, big 6'4", goes, hey, Packer, are you a virgin? So I'm like, my face said it all. Right? No, wait, what's the right answer? So I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And then he just kept grilling me. But this is what it was. I'm like, well, that's not what just give me something like, Packer, you're doing well in hockey. But this is what it was.
Yeah.
So it's like always like a beatdown. And at the time, I sincerely thought guys didn't like me. But they of course they like you.
That's just how it is.
That's just how it is.
Just the first year
so
guy.
you get that crust, and eventually you get that crust on you, right? So the older guys, that's what it is. But I look back and I go, wow, like what Dalton said. He goes, what you thought was cool isn't cool. And what you didn't think was cool is actually cool. So I look at that. We had I'm just thinking of the one corner of the room where I was sitting across from. We had a first-round pick, a couple second-round NHL picks, and a couple that just came back from the NHL, and then we had a Buffalo pick. It just started going around. We had a really good team with a lot of NHL experience coming back, and boys would drink beer. They go here and they tell the stories about the party and about the beer and all the stuff that they did about the girls and stuff like that. And I was sitting there, okay, I know I shouldn't drink. Okay, I'm probably going to have one or two with them just to fit in, but I know I shouldn't. I know I can't. And I don't feel comfortable with the girls yet like that, it was just a weird thing. So you're just trying to fit in.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing was, as I look back, a couple of those first rounders played a couple games. They blew it. And the label on them was where they were drunks. They drank too much, and they didn't discipline themselves to be hockey players. And I look at like Tiger Chidoroni that I talked about. He had a long career, and I didn't play in the NHL because he was like, but he should. I think he should have, but whatever. He played a long time in the American League, and then he went to Europe and made good money. And guys that didn't make it or made it that you never thought would make it. And it was just sheer. like what Dalton said, is they did things that other people weren't willing to do, so they could have things that other people will never have.
Yep. Well, what I was just thinking about while you're talking about that is, I remember the struggle of like trying to find the line, right? Because I was a kid that I was brought up. I had a very like strong moral compass, let's say.
Yeah.
And guys that you play with aren't necessarily on the same page with you, and you need to figure out how to. Like, you can't be the guy that never does anything with the team and always says, no, that's stupid, and is judgmental about what older guys are doing and whatever, because then you're not part of the team. And that's,
you got to figure that part
and
out.
that's not a good thing. But it's also not a good thing to get sucked into the other world that isn't aligned with what your ultimate goal is. And that's happened to countless guys. I know guys that's happened to, so have I, where really, really good players, and they just got sucked into the shit, and there was nothing they could do to get out of it after, because they didn't have these kind of thoughts going into these situations. They just thought, oh yeah, I want to be a cool hockey player. And they got to the OHL and they thought that this was their NHL, and they made it, they're done, they did what they needed to do, and then they just turn into, and they just completely drop the ball. Yeah. You know, and it's very easy to do, because the opportunities and the temptation and the distractions are going to be around you every single day, because you have that gap from 16 to 20. When you're 20 years old, you can do whatever you want now. You can drive, you can drink, you can go wherever, you can do whatever. Nothing's off limits to you anymore. You're an adult.
You don't have to go to school.
Yeah, you're an adult, right? Yeah, you don't have to go to school. And so they can behave very completely different than someone who's 16 coming in, right? And you got to figure out how to find that balance where you're active enough being a part of the team, but you're confident enough to know where to draw the line, right? And that's kind of what happens when you start to get into like these team hangouts, right? Like you get the rookie parties and the team events that you guys are doing. There's a fine line where like guys are just having fun goofing around, and when it's getting over the line, and you got to be able to handle that.
Yeah, it's a fine line for sure. It's hard, and I don't know really what the answer is all the time, but I know that if you're focused on that goal, then you're going to make better decisions most of the time. I mean, just as an adult, it's the same pressures in life, just I'm more equipped to handle it. But I know for a fact, what keeps me in between the lines every single day is my habits and my business and my family. Those are big things to me, and you know, that's the most important stuff. So it's hard to get me derailed. As a kid, it's a little bit tougher, especially with the peer pressure. Yeah. But so speaking of that, like, there's going to be things like rookie parties. We called rookie parties, and hazing is what they called. So it was interesting. This a couple weeks ago. Well, no, actually, for a couple years now, maybe it's a couple years. There's been a lot of players that came out with a lot of hazing incidents, where people are going, "Oh my God, that can't be true," or "That is disgusting." What and then just recently, in that same type of thing, they've been talking about the hazing in the Canadian Hockey League. An older fella, I can't remember. I should have looked at that before I came here. An older fella, I think he's in his 70s now. That played a long time in the NHL as well. He was in this lawsuit against the Canadian Hockey League about the hazing and stuff. And the unfortunate thing about this is that here's the fortunate thing about it is I am so happy for the kids coming up that it's not the way it used to be. The Canadian Hockey League, Dave Branch, and when Dave Branch was a commissioner when I played. And even after always, because he's a commissioner, like Gary Bettman. It's always like every time he makes decisions, the guy's a loser, But he made that league so much better by doing the right things. He took out fighting. I think it went a little bit extreme. I don't think it's really his decision. I think he's just going with society, kind of. But they've eliminated even a lot of the fighting, and to a certain degree, it's better. I think they went a little bit too far, because even the fighting, so when I played in the 80s, it was 80s and 90s and that, the violence in hockey, like anybody would fight anybody anytime. You could club someone, and the suspensions were really, they were there, but it was almost nothing to it. So it became to a point like guys would play in the league and they'd be there for a purpose. Like when you're young kids, it's like, I don't know. So what happens? I know several guys that have played in that era that some guys have taken their lives, and you can't say it's because of the fighting or it's because of the hazing, but maybe it's a contributing factor.
Factors, yeah.
But a lot of guys, because of the fighting, it's like you get your head knocked around so much. So when you're 18 or 17 going in the league and you're thinking it's cool to fight 25, 30, 35 times a year, you have zero idea what that's doing to your brain.
Yeah,
or
man,
your life, because every day you're scared.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. You can't go into fight every day and not be some sort of fear. George St. Pierre, a fighter, talks about this. He goes, you're scared. It's just how you face fear.
It's stressful.
Yeah, stressful.
You can feel the stress.
100%.
Right?
So that's accumulating on your body as a young kid in the brain, and you get cracked in the head a whole bunch of times. I've seen guys, I know guys that are 25, 30 years old that they don't have a clue right now.
Oh, yeah.
And
your
it's
brain's
sad.
not even done developing until you're 25.
Yeah, right. And they had no idea. They're trying to be cool. They're not trying to be cool. They're trying to make a spot, and some of the coaches encourage it because, like I had to do it, you have to do it. Like there's no thought to it. So that's sad. So Dave Branch in the OHL, and he was the president of the CHL as well. I really commend him for and the hazing to look at it and to say, okay, this is wrong now. Okay, we've made a mistake, or we have to address this because society has changed, but it probably for the better. So so credit to him, big time. Now I think 3 fights a year per kid I think it takes it the other way. Now you could be a little shit going up to a big Dalton Prout and chirping him and sticking him and say, yeah, what are you going to do about it? Because what can you do about it now? Yeah. The hitting's gone a little bit more, so it's a different league. So that's the one thing. The other thing was the hazing. Thank God they changed it because I was part of it. I'm not the guy that, and we had some bad stuff, but I was fortunate that our veterans they were crazy, and we did some all the stuff you read about in the paper. There's some of that, but we didn't have the extreme.
Yep.
But some guys went through a lot more than that, and it's no good.
Yeah. Well, the thing that listen, here's the thing. People, these are things you can't talk about because everyone wants to pretend like this doesn't happen.
What's happened?
But it happens. It still happens because every couple of years, even as it's gotten way better, but I forget when it was. I think it was University of Ottawa. They had their whole program suspended because
2 years ago.
I think it was a hazing incident. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But so one of the years I played, they didn't even have a team. Right? Because they were suspended for the year. I'm almost positive it was a hazing thing. I don't want to talk bad about them if that didn't happen, but I think that's what it was. Anyways,
I think so too.
It still happens. There's things that happen. And even if it's not when you use the word hazing, to me it's it's a very negative. You're doing things that are humiliating, demeaning, all those kinds of words to describe what you're doing to the young guys, right? And for me, when I went through junior, it was none of that. There was we had our little rookie party thing, and we did little events and little games and whatever. But everyone, for the most part, could just opt out if they were uncomfortable doing whatever they were doing. And there was nothing that was way over the line where it was something borderline criminal or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it is the reality that these things still happen. And when you're a young guy coming in, you need to know that you're going to be in that situation. You're going to have the rookie party, and you're going to have to deal with what happens at the rookie party, right? Yeah. And that doesn't mean that you need to participate in things that you're really uncomfortable with, and you need to have enough confidence to be able to stand up for yourself when it's something that you feel is over the line for you. But at the same time, there's again, there's a line to be drawn where there's certain things that you can do that are just stupid and funny that aren't harmful and whatever, and you can participate in those ones because you still want to be part of the team, right?
Yep.
But if it's something where you got a 20-year-old beating you down and making you do things that are over the line, that's something that you need to be able to get yourself out of, right? And you need to be able to do that. And you might not be so fortunate. When I was in my last year, I actually had the party at my house. And I was one of those guys where we had our little games and whatever, nothing over the line. But we said to all the young guys at the start, hey, if you do these things, it's funny and cool and we like it, but if you don't want to, I'm not going to make you do whatever. If you don't want to do it, do whatever you want, right? And at the same time, these are 16, 17-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
So it's when we talked about this the first time, we talked about it has the potential to be a dangerous situation.
Very.
Right?
Yeah. All the stuff that if anybody's read or that stuff happened. stuff happened, and it's stupid, and it's the real sad thing is that there was coaches that knew what was going on and even somewhat participated in it, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Seriously.
I mean, as an adult, but so that there was stuff that was ridiculous, but yeah. So as to your point, or let me say this first, dangerous. So when our rookie party, I was like nervous as it's a party. Oh my God, it was people that you didn't, outsiders at the party, that aren't on the team, girls that weren't. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And we had these games where we had to drink. I don't know. I know we had to start with beer. So I've got right from a kid, I got a stomach like a billy goat. Okay, just whatever. It's like nothing. It's like a steel trap. So I'm pounding these beers, and wow, like we had to.
Yeah.
Which this is not the worst thing in the world, by the way. No, like that we went through in rookie party, but that was. We're pounding these beers, and then it was it wasn't vodka, it was tequila. So this tequila, cups like this, like shots in one glass. Okay, down these. So the tequila comes, and I can't even drink it. I can't.
Yeah.
Don't do it. So I'm pounding these, but the thing is the next day, I woke up. I was sick for a couple of days.
Yeah.
It was dangerous, and the thing is that for the older guys, doing that to a young kid, it's poison, man. You could literally kill someone.
Yeah.
And it might sound like I'm a soft guy or something. It's so dangerous. Well, and here's the thing. Guys that I played with, this is really funny now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know one guy that I played with or against that when we talk as adults, look back and say that weren't, number one, scared of and felt really uncomfortable as kids, just like everybody else.
Yep.
And stuff like that, think it's stupid. They always think it's stupid, but it happened.
Oh,
so
yeah.
the league is better, way, 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 way better now, thank God.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing now is there's a place like when I would have played in the 80s and coached in the 90s, it would have been totally unacceptable to rat your guys out or to talk about need some help mentally, or someone did something inappropriate.
Just to say anything.
I couldn't say anything. But now it's like if you don't, like, you're the dummy. Because just you're the dummy. You have an outlet now, and you're safe to say, okay, I feel this. They've got programs called this, and this that you can actually go to, and there's no judgment. There's like, they encourage you to go.
Yeah.
Now, the sad thing, in my opinion, is that there's a line that they've moved it so far that anybody that gets offended or about any little thing that's just human nature, just guys being guys, coaches sometimes have to address things. I think a lot of the times it's like, come on, like, you got to put up with a little bit of shit, guys.
Well, the line that I was just going to go there, because the line that I was going to draw is, for these guys that are young and they're put in that position where it's something over the line, like I said, it's you don't have to do that. But on the flip side, there's something about like being part of a team and being a new person and knowing your role. Yeah. And I remember listening to Derek. You and Derek Lanoux talked about this. He was a guy who played for the Spits. They won. He was on the one of the team. I think one of the years.
Cups. Yeah, the second year.
Second year.
First one. I don't forget.
Whatever. But
maybe two. One.
Well, what? Well, he's a doctor now. Really successful guy.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to him talk about it. And there's a fine line between, being a part of the team and then completely isolating yourself because, like you're saying, everything offends you or whatever. So to me, where I know they have a rule now that everybody's got to pick the pucks up, right?
Yeah.
So like to me, that's not hazing. If you say hazing for the young guys to pick the pucks up. Now, if you're first guy on the team or first year guy on the team, you should just do that. Yeah. And the reason you should just do that is not because you're less than or anything. It's just that it's a sign of respect. Like, hey, I know you guys, you've put in your hours, like you've earned your stripes here. I'm the new guy. Like, I'll pick the pucks up. I'll help out more around the room and all of this stuff. You should just do that anyways because it's just a respect thing. You're new to an organization. And that's just a small thing you can do just to show that you appreciate the opportunities that you have and that you're respectful of the older guys and all of this. That doesn't mean the older guys aren't going to be dicks about it or treat you like crap, because they will probably at some point. You're going to come across a veteran guy that's a complete loser.
Yeah.
Because everyone has him on every team for the most part, at least for some of the time.
Yep.
And those guys, they should just as well help clean up, just because it's the right thing to do. Like I remember being in dressing rooms as overage. I was always helping the equipment guys and the trainers and stuff clean up around. Throw the tape in the garbage, man. Don't leave
being a human being.
Yeah, don't leave a mess in your stall. Like help pick the pucks up. Like help unload extra bags off the bus. Like these are things that you can just do because you should. So if you're the young guy, the reason you're going to pick the pucks up is not because the guy is telling you to. It's just because it's a respectful thing. And the thing too is you should try to grow to have enough confidence that if a guy is like bullying you in the room with like all the rook talk and all this crap, like if he says to you, hey rook, like, pick the pucks up, you should have enough confidence to look at him and say, shut up.
Yeah.
Whether you're 16 or not.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Because if you do the right things around the rink, you try hard, you work hard, all that stuff, you're not going to be isolated from the rest of the group because you told an idiot to shut up. They'll actually probably respect you a little bit more, right?
Everyone agrees with you.
Exactly. So you go, you say, I'm going to pick the pucks up, but not because you're telling me to.
Yeah.
Right? It has nothing to do with what you're doing. And that's kind of what you're talking about with being offended and stuff. You got to know how to toe the line a little bit, you know?
Well, so that's another thing. It's just one of those unexpected things. Like if a lot of parents don't understand this part of hockey, or players don't understand, because hockey's just a nice little game when you're a kid. There's a hierarchy as you move up. Just, it is what it is.
Yeah. They're everywhere,
man. This guy's
man.
been on the team for 4 years. This is your first month. So there's a respect that you have to do. So I remember guys would be really offended. Like, thought that they were, like you said, less, because as rookies, we'd have to pick up pucks. You'll get these seats on the bus. Veterans got one seat to themselves. You'd have to pair up on the bus, and you couldn't sleep, you couldn't move. You had to help load the bus and all these things. And those things, come on.
Yeah,
that's not
just hazing.
That's
man.
not hazing.
Yeah.
That's just part of, and that's just called earning your stripes. That's all that is.
Yeah.
And it's all good, and it's not a big deal. And if you're the only rookie, then that's a story to tell later, I think. I just those things are fine. Like, so I told my son, he knows. You pick up, like when you go to your first thing, you're picking up pucks. You're the last one off the ice if you can, but you pick up pucks. You help the trainers. You make sure you pick up your shit, because if you're not, you're a goof. Yeah, you're a shit guy.
Yeah,
like you just learn that. It's not because you're a lesser person. It's because you're a new guy and you're earning your stripes.
Yeah.
And when guys see, your teammates see that you just automatically do that, there's nothing that they can pick on, because you're just doing the right things, and that's all you're trying to be, is just a good team guy. So it was funny, and you're probably hear this. I'm sure you've seen this several times. I've had some of my junior skates where some pros have come out. So one in particular is Zach and Dalton. Zach Cassian and Dalton Pro were out. Eki might have been, whatever. But I remember Eki wasn't a puck picker upper, because that's not his style. But at the end of the practice, I said, let's clean her up there, boys, let's go. And Zach and Dalton were the first ones picking up pucks. And the kids were farting around, so I kind of lost it on them. I said, I'm going to teach you a lesson. This is how hockey is. These guys have been playing in the NHL for 8 years now. I said, they're on the ice with you, helping you. You're getting to watch them. You're getting to learn from them. You're getting to see, wow, it should be a privilege to skate with an NHL player if you have any respect for the game. I said, you're watching them pick up the pucks that you guys have used. That's not the way it works. I said, you should be telling them, no, we got the pucks. Thanks for coming out. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And but on the flip side, Zach and Dalton would never not do it. Zach in the middle of drills will be the first one, even with the NHL guys, the first one. If I need to use pylons or props or something on the ice, he's like, Packer, where do you want them? Like he's setting them up, and that's what leadership is.
Well, and that's the difference, because when you're with actual like quality people around, they'll just do it anyways. Yes. So you'll be the rookie picking the pucks up, but you'll have Johnny 20-year-old picking the pucks up with you, just because that's what you should do.
Talking to you.
Yeah, right?
Practice. Yeah. You did good in practice today.
Yeah, just pick them up, man. It's not a big deal. But you get this thing now where these young guys that come in, they got the ego, right? They got the I'm really good ego.
Lose that shit.
And that's the issue when you push the line so far, where anything is offensive now, because now you got these little punks coming in, and they don't learn how to function inside the hierarchy of a team, right? And it's not saying like that people aren't equal, and we're not talking about that.
No.
It's just there's a certain dynamic that it's just human nature, man. That's just how the relationship interactions are going to occur. When you're a new person, you have to find your way into the group.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of that. That's not just you can try to enforce rules that make it go away, but you're talking about 16 to 20-year-old boys.
Yeah.
Like they're stupid. Like,
they don't know.
they're just going to do stupid stuff.
Yeah,
they're going to find a way around whatever your rules are to do whatever they're going to do anyways, right?
Yeah.
So when you go into that situation, you need to know that there's certain things that they're not hazing, and that's just things you should do.
Yeah.
And then you should also know like where the line's at if you do find yourself in one of those situations, because it could still happen.
Yeah.
That you can weasel your way out of those situations, so you're not doing something stupid or dangerous, or that you could get in big time trouble for, especially now with all like the social media and everything. It's like you get caught, you send one message, there's one picture, there's forever, it's up. Yeah. Someone's got it forever, you know, and there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. There's I was just thinking of a couple of things here. So just like talking about that in practice and stuff, if you're always the guy picking up the pucks, like regardless of rookie, veteran, or whatever, or if you're doing things, you always seem to be the guy doing it, like at work, let's say.
Yeah.
When you're always the guy putting other people's stuff away, it's frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
So just turn the tables and don't frustrate other people. Just be a good guy.
Yeah.
Right? If you in our gym, if you lift the weights, if you leave them on the rack and you leave the bench in the middle of the floor and you leave stuff all over the place, someone else has to do it. So take care of your own shit that no one else has to. The other side of that is also, I'm just trying to think of a scenario outside of hockey, but when I do something for you as your boss, call me a boss today, as your boss, and I say, and I give you, I do something where, no, you go ahead. No, and because you're showing me respect. No, you're the boss. No, you go ahead. Or if you're a teammate and you're going, like you're an older guy, and like this is where the young guys have to learn, is be like that. So if you're going to a team dinner and the older guy goes, no, go, buddy. Like you go. What does it do for that person? I mean, it seems so small. Yeah. I mean, if a guy's an idiot, goes, yeah, okay, whatever. But most people are going, oh, thanks, man. Like he made you feel good. Your teammate. Oh yeah. So that's how you want to be all the time. You know, one of the things in the military is that's what they say. That's one way that the generals and commanders gain respect very, very quickly, is they eat last. They wait, let everybody go, and then what's left over. Because look, hey, the reality is, the soldiers, the guys, the boots on the ground are the ones doing the work. Mm-hmm. They're the hungry ones. Yeah. But it's a leadership principle, right? Like if you can,
leaders eat last.
Yeah,
love that. That's great.
Yeah, and it's just you put the team first. It's just a whole bunch of scenarios, right? It's anyways, that's something that you should probably look at, and just in general, it's not about how old you are, how much experience you are. Is when someone is just nice to you, like as a nice human being, or is not just thinking of themselves, you get a better player, a better person, better team. Yeah,
well, that's it. I like that too. You're talking about, putting the team first, because that's just a skill that, again, most of these guys, you're not going to be an NHL player. Like if you play one game of pro, you're in the upper echelon of hockey players, right? And but being able to work in a team, and knowing the relationship dynamics of between people, and being able to navigate those successfully, you can bring that anywhere, right? You can take that anywhere, and then you'll always be a valued member of whatever team you're on, because you know how to behave, right? You know what to do when you're wherever you are, and that's one of those things, right? And if you run into, you have one of those older guys that's just a jerk, and just that shouldn't stop you from doing the right things just because he's a jerk. Let him be a jerk. You can tell him off and do whatever, but you keep doing the things that you should do, because you want to be the good guy on the team that everyone wants around, right?
Yeah. So I got a funny story.
Go ahead.
So not a jerk. He was my line mate. He was tough as nails. He was 5'10". We say his first name. That's it. Freddie. Beauty guy. Tough as nails. But he was the guy. I wouldn't want to be remembered for this, but Freddie, if you're laughing or if you're watching, you know that I love you. I'm not cutting you up. I'm just using it as an example. We all said it anyways. He'd be the guy that, so in our dressing room, we'd have a big table in the middle of the room, and you'd have tape, and you'd have gum, you'd have all the different tapes, all the kinds of gums. You have the skate or the stick. We used to curve our sticks back then, so we have the torch and all this stuff. Like you feel pro, right? So you go grab a stick of gum and A535, and you rub yourself out. You're Joe Big Shot here, right? Freddie on our team, there's probably one or two on every team. would just like scoop stuff. So we'd go to the table, there'd be like one pack of gum left, and there was about 64 packs of gum. There'd be like 6 rolls of tape left. Like, where's the other 32 rolls? Like, come on, that was him. And then so one day we were going, and one of the companies left car washes out, and like car washes, like, I mean, there was probably 600 different car washes there. That there was one pile left, and it was like Freddie had about 500 and some car washes, and we're like, dude, you're gonna be here for another 2 months. He goes, are you washing your car 6 times a day? Like, could someone else wash their car? Unbelievable. You don't want to be that guy.
Well, that's the point too, though, right? Because the other guys on the team, they check into stuff like that. They can see if you're the idiot or you're the undercover selfish guy.
Yeah.
Hey, like, you act like a good guy, but you're actually not.
Yeah.
Like, everyone picks up on all this stuff, right? So it's important to be able to deal with those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
the last thing I wanted to talk about as far as going on the on things that you want to control, or no, that's not the word. Is when you're in a situation that you're unfamiliar with, the things that'll get you. It could be coaching. So a lot of people go into these organizations thinking that they're in the great organization and the coach, whatever. You got to make sure that if the coach isn't Joe friendly and doesn't talk to you and doesn't give you feedback and all that stuff, that you're going to be a hockey player regardless. Because coaches are paid to win hockey games at certain levels, and if you don't, you might not be that important to them. So you have to find out, like, in all these situations, the unknowns, you have to be able to solve problems and make sure that dream is big so that you can overcome and deal with it. Because it's like, you got to take the emotion out of everything and just do the task. Just do the task. No one cares what the problems are, what issues you have doing it. You have to learn how to do the task. So, a lot of kids will come in and they never played in a real system before. So they're going to come to maybe the OHL or college, and the first time they're going to have a real structured system where they were goal scorers at one time, and now all of a sudden the coach says, well, you're not good enough, but maybe he might say it, and now you're going to be on the 4th line, and your role is like one of my friends that played in the NHL said he's got one job. One job is to climb over the boards when the puck's on a change and get through the neutral zone, getting big and wide. He's got about 10 seconds of work, and then he has to get off the ice, and he has to be good at that. Makes $1 million a year doing it, though. Not a lot of glory, but that's the job. But when you get to a different level, you have to accept that job and do it well. Coach might not explain it to you, but you have to do your job well. So it's not about how you feel about doing it; just do it well. That's how your opportunities come.
Yeah, and I think the thing too is don't let these other things get in the way because you weren't prepared. And that's kind of the thing that I want to leave with today is all of these external factors that are going to come up when you go into playing junior billets, the food situation, interactions with your teammates, the hazing, the rookie parties stuff, all that. Don't let those things crumble you or like I said before, blindside you because you weren't ready for the possibility of them happening. And that's kind of what we're trying to do, getting this information out to you guys, is know that you won't, like I said, you won't be prepared until you do it. You have to go through it. There's only so much you can do to prepare yourself until it actually happens, but expect it to happen so that you're ready. Because like we were both talking about, we both seen guys just be absolutely crushed, crumbled, ruin their career, ruin their life because they got sucked into, like the underworld of hockey because they weren't ready for that. So make sure you guys are prepared for that to whatever degree you can be. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing I'm just going to finish on this is just learn how to do the things that, like Dalton said, that aren't cool at the time, because they're going to pay off at the end of the day. So you keep that big, nice, that dream and that goal nice and big. So that's your motivating factor every day. And if you really want that, you're going to do things that other people aren't willing to do, period. Might be getting up early. Looking back at on my life, I'm very fortunate that I had the self-awareness at a certain point in my life to say, okay, this isn't working the way I'm living my life. And I immersed myself into a self-help program, if that's the best word I can come up with right now, where if I was continuing to have the mindset that I had at 16 to 20 I wouldn't be very far right now. So I took, what wasn't cool is, my buddies were going out and doing all kinds of things that people do, but I had to take a really a really good look at my life and say, okay, this isn't working. So what are you going to do about it? So I knew that I was lacking confidence. I knew I was lacking a lot of skills, and I just immersed myself into trying, reading books and trying things, working really hard at just making myself better. So that meant early mornings, late nights, doing things that weren't fun, but they were fun at the end of the day. But what's my point of that? My point is that at the end of the day, I've got people that I never thought would be my friends at those ages who are my friends or look up to me. I've been able to speak in situations or in places where I never thought that wasn't me. I remember calling my mom one day because she used to get on me about going to school because I didn't like school. And I called her one day because I was doing a talk at a university. I said, "How do you like that one, Mom? That doesn't make any sense, does it?" But I made myself fairly intelligent, because I just did the work. And my business, even around here, when I started my business, the first time I started it, when I first started, I didn't really know what I was doing. I did it out of necessity, but when I had to get people, how am I going to get people? So I had a friend of mine show me on a computer how to make brochures, and I would hand them out to people, and people didn't know who I was down here because I'm not from here. And I remember people grabbing it and laughing and saying, "Oh, hockey school, stupid hockey school." And it could have been enough for me to say, "Well, that's not going to work." But I kept at it, and I kept doing the thing, and then I started getting results, and then it exploded fairly quickly. And then through trial and error, I've did some things that were really good, and did some things where I made mistakes where my business could be a lot better, but I stuck to it and stuck to my principles, because in this business, in the hockey business, it's very easy to lie to people. It's very easy to just take whatever you can get. I mean, I could make a lot of money every minute of the day, and I just choose not to do that because it's not the right thing. But that's a skill there itself, is having principles and morals that, you define what you want to be and where you want to go. But it would have been easy to get this, to take it a different way. I wouldn't have had the long-term success though. So I was fortunate enough to look at things at a longer term. So I've been in business for a little over 20 years now, and I have a nice reputation from doing the right things that were not necessarily popular at the time. The way I trained people in the beginning, people were like, never seen that before. That's dumb. A private lesson. What is that? Well, my mindset was different than everybody else's, and I had to believe in that. I had to stick to it. And it paid off at the end. And I've been all over the world doing this, and I've got a lot of successful players that I've trained, and it's going to continue to be better. And another side note on the business is, I remember it was about 2010. My gym was at another spot, and one of the guys working for me said, "Because I don't know why you have all the overhead and stuff. There's no money in that. It costs you money." And I said, "Yeah, I know, but it's a professional business, and there is overhead and stuff." And because his idea was if you just go out on the ice and just charge people, that's where you make all the money, and you make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money, but it's only one thing, and it would take away the professionalism of our business. So, but the funny thing is sticking to that plan and going through some ups and downs, because we've had some times where it has been some rough times, like 2008, 2009, when the economy kind of crashed. That wasn't a picnic for me. I was at my highest debt in business and my lowest revenue. And I had scary times, like for myself and my business. We got out of it. But right now in the COVID thing, I still have a place to work out of. Whereas, the rules in Canada for people that aren't in Ontario or Canada is things are shut. You can't do anything, but I still can to a certain degree, yep. And I can still create revenue. So I made an investment when it wasn't popular. I grinded it out when it wasn't popular. People had when they were looking at the game, they were looking at a short game where I was looking at it short too, but I had, maybe because I was more stuck than anything, but I had to see this thing through. And by seeing it through, I knew I would last longer, but I'm going to last longer for sure, because I have an actual business. It's legit.
Right.
And there's principles and something that you can be proud of, not just taking a bag of pucks to different rinks and throwing shit on the wall.
Well, I think maybe bringing that kind of full circle again for the kids listening to and their parents. That's just it. Sticking to your principles, whatever the situation is that you find yourself in. Prepare yourself the best you can. for those situations, and just make sure that you're ready if you have to pivot, if you have to do something that's uncomfortable, whatever. Be as ready as you can be going into those situations so that you don't get swiped. Like mentioning the COVID thing, like we're seeing so many people now just done, toast, right? Because they didn't
picnic.
No, I'm not saying there's every right to be toast, man. Like it's a tough time. But if you can be the one that pulls out of it, or you can be the one that handles it, then you come through on the other side. Whether that's playing junior hockey coming through, or in your business coming through, like whatever it is, you have tools that can get you through it, and then you're the person everyone wants to be around on the other side. So I think that's a good place to leave it off on.
All right, let's leave it there.
All right, man.
Okay, cool.